You love it when I'm in bed. So here I am in bed again. Well, maybe I shouldn't be catering to what you want, but I'm in bed a lot of the time, so we can be in bed. Here's the blanket. Um, I don't know. I just finished drawing something. That's the sun, and then the birds are sitting on the trees, and then there's some little bushes or trees, depending on, and then the shadows, and here's a river and the grass. And this is what it says. When we took to the skies, all language became our thoughts, and were the clouds, and were happy, and did not break our souls to know them. Were known in their laughter, and tears bearing fresh-water fish in the fields of my grandfather, though he could not join us there in his purity. For our joy is sin, and is cleaned in sweat of our daughters, who are free and no suffering in the daylight at last. Amen. Yeah, that's what I drew just now. Please subscribe so I can live stream. And this is what I was gonna say last night, that I said in the last video. I couldn't remember what was the other thing I wanted to do while I live streamed, and it was I want to read you stories. I thought maybe I'll read you, like Jane Austen or something, or like philosophy that I like. I don't know, just books that I like, or I'll read you, or probably both if you let me. I'll read you the book that I'm writing, and we can do like a little bedtime story moment. Yeah, 10 more subscribers. At 50, I can live stream. So I would love if you did that. But it also feels kind of like fucked up to be like, I don't think people should be online anymore, but I want you to be watching these. So I got to figure that out because that's like a real cognitive dissonance right there. Today is one of those days. There's been a lot of those days recently that are so bad that they can't even be bad. Like you can't let it be as bad as it needs to be. You just have to, you know, go on your phone. And it's not forever. It's really imminently ending. Because I won't be here anymore. I'll be in my new place. But like today is just, I'm just like letting myself, I ate breakfast, I wrote, I drew, I'm making this video, all my usual like little maintenance things. But anything beyond that is just, I have to be so so gentle with myself today. um This is one I think where I'm just gonna let the video be what it is and not re-record it. I'm writing a book, I think. It's like it started out as a letter and now it's just kind of spiraled, and I feel so I have this like book of poetry, and a lot of the reason I haven't finished it, it's the poetry that I wrote when I was 17. A lot of the reason I haven't finished it is not because of this, like, imposter syndrome anxiety. It's because the actual process of formatting a book is bureaucratic enough that it uh really, like, I can't do it for some reason. Like, I can do it. It's just my brain short circuits immediately. So I haven't quite finished it, and I've been working on other things. But then when I go work on the other projects for long enough, I go, I should probably finish that poetry book. And the way that I can get around the imposter syndrome of it is being like, well, I just want a physical copy for me. If nothing else, I want to have it as a book. And then maybe my family would want one. I know some people in my family would want one. And then maybe some of my friends would want one, and I can give them to them as gifts. And then I might as well just order a few extra copies just to have in case I need them. And then, maybe there's an event where it just happens that people can sell their art, and then I just happen to have these books, and maybe they're bad, like, but I just have them. Like, it would be silly not to bring them. But it's just for me. It's not for anybody else. This is how I like coddle myself into like living without like incredible amounts of like fear all the time. Because you can't always be like, rah, 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 like, I'm the best. Like, sometimes I'm reading them and I'm like, I wrote these when I was 17, and my 17-year-old self was, I think, had a lot of good stuff, had a lot of good thoughts going on. Um, and so I don't want to, like, my poetry is very different now than it was when I was 17. And I'm certainly writing about different things in some ways. Um, and I'd say, happier than I was with the poems, but I still often like the poems. It's a lot of it is fear that other people won't like the poems. Um, well, it's complicated. Like the difference, your inner voice, the projection of other people, but it's inside your head. And like identity becomes very fluid in terms of like who is inside my head, who is me, and who is other people becomes quite a porous uh, framework. Anyway, I just want to like I'm very lonely in a way that being around other people, like being around other people solves the loneliness in one way, and then it causes a whole bunch of other problems, which again, a beautiful part of life, like not problems to solve necessarily, just sometimes I don't have the fortitude to go be dealing with it. And that's not to discount my own ability, just to know when I need to rest. Like, I know the capacity is in me, I just don't always have access to it. I guess part of this is the hope that, like, if you go back and see the first videos and see how I keep changing and growing, and you see me over and over again being kind to myself, that maybe you will feel like there is some hope for this world. It is a messed up place. But who have you not loved that wasn't deeply flawed? It's getting easier not to feel like my internal experience is being erased by filming. Like, this strange separation where I look like me as the viewer becomes a distinct entity from me, the creator. That when I'm making it, it's just like I'm being taken on a journey, and whatever is happening happens. And then when I'm watching it is when I go, oh, like something was happening. Where is my incense? Give me a second. I just saw it. Like, literally. Oh, it's on the floor. This is sandalwood. It'd be kind of fun if you could see it. You'll see the smoke. So yeah, I guess this isn't content enough that I'm adding to the problem. Certainly I'm fueling advertiser revenue, but doesn't seem like that can be helped. I've been blocking out so many good things because the bad started coming alongside them, and it was a little much for me. There's different types of bad. That was just, it was new bad. Or I felt it was a similar bad. It was like, yeah, I guess it was kind of new, like not entirely, but I felt like I had a very different relationship to myself in it and to the other people in it. And it was like, whoa. I've just got to believe that you're a human being like me, or maybe you're not a human being, but a sentient creature of some kind. Sentient. You are a sentience of some kind. And that talking about myself isn't just some narcissistic exercise, that it pertains to others as well as myself. Without that thought, like, the guilt would eat me alive. And it won't always be like that, but so much guilt lately. Just really coming up. And I think it's always been there. But I'm recognizing it more now, I think, as I start to separate from it and it becomes less the air that I breathe. I got coffee with a friend the other day, and he said that when he's on shrooms and he's having a bad trip, it's often guilt based. It's the not working enough. And I think that part of it is legitimate as a driving force, that I have to keep going. But if there was a way to have that be love based, that would be a lot more useful in actually getting the work done. But I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to, or if I want to, I guess, separate myself from base human desires like possession and lust. Sometimes I think that, and then I, like, maybe I don't want to, and then I think about it and I'm like, but it does sound pretty great. And then I think, well, maybe I can't. I'm not saying I don't want to, is like a cope for the idea that I won't be able to. And then I come back around to, well, then maybe I don't want to. When I get stuck in these thought spirals, I always feel confident. Not always feel confident, but time and time again, I have broken out of them eventually as I gain more experience in the world. And I'm sure I will have a much broader perspective on this little loop in the next few years. A year is so long and so short in such a very specific way, where the amount of time that I've lived it, like the minutia of the emotional experience, feels really like rich, where I'm a different person in a very slight way, but like the depth of my personhood feels like so much greater as I've seen myself go through all these different experiences. And when I look on the face of it and I go, well, not that much has happened, and then it's like, well, I approach situations in a subtly different way, but every part of how I approach the situation is different. Like it's so holistic, the experience of time and personal growth. It's not just like, oh, well, in this one area, I was focusing on this year. It's like every little bit of me grows. But then practically, like, you are often or I am often in a pretty similar, not necessarily pretty similar, but then, like, that's the area where it's like, well, one thing will have changed, and then everything else is kind of staying the same because you really only had so much time to do certain goals. This is not to say that this is your experience of a year, but this is what I'm finding lately. And I don't look at you as much as you maybe would like. I don't know. I'm not being present with you, perhaps. I'm always like staring out the window. I keep coming back to this experience or experiences I've had with men where they start to get upset that I'm not looking at them enough. And I have gotten upset with people for not looking, with one person for not looking at me enough once. Perhaps it happened several times, but it was, I guess, one like a short period, and then I fell out of it. And I was saying, like, look at me. Why won't you look at me? So I wanted to connect. But it's a very unsettling thing to do, not to say, look at me. That's like just intrusive and annoying. But when the person is not looking at you and they're looking down, say, and you move so that they like trying to physically position yourself so they have to look at you, or when they try to force your head, try to move your face. That I particularly do not like. Like making eye contact is such a sacred thing that to do that just feels like so perverse. Being in the city is starting to get to me. No, I don't know that. It's a guess. It's a guess. I'm moving out tomorrow.